Let me ask you a question. When you think about yourself in relation to your reality, are you choosing your experience or is your experience choosing you? Are you the victim of your circumstance or the creator of your destiny? Hello, my name is Ericka. This is Raising Light Babies, and I'm here today to tell you that healing can only begin when we take off the glasses of victimhood. Because healing isn't just about recovering from what's been done to us. Healing is really about shifting the way we see ourselves. Growing up, so many of us are taught to live in sacrifice. We are told to stay within the confines of our traditional role in life, to support rather than lead, to never really challenge the thoughts of others because they see things that we don't. They know better, and so we should trust them and not ourselves. That conditioning isn't unique to you or your family. That conditioning is systemic. That conditioning is patriarchy. Patriarchy doesn't only mean men ruling over women. It's a whole system of hierarchy. Who gets to speak first? Who will be heard? Who is expected to sacrifice? It creates victims on both sides. Men and women are pressured to choose between true expression of self or a traditional role in society. And children, well, they inherit the consequences and the scripts to repeat the cycle, for better or for worse. Think of patriarchy or whatever societal belief system that you live in or under in that matter as your childhood home. The walls are painted in a certain color. The rooms are defined and the furniture is already in its designated area. There are certain rules. Who says what about what? Who notices and pretends not to notice? Why we pretend not to notice? The song and dance that ensues in an effort to get what we want without ever clearly communicating what we want. The passive aggressive way in which we deal with those that are most capable of hurting us. None of us chose the paint on those walls. But growing up in that house, that was our normal. We thought that's just the way things are. Healing, however, is realizing that the house is just a structure. We can repaint it. We can mix and match colors, rearrange the rooms. We can even walk out altogether. But the first step of doing that is to step out of victimhood. Our children are being raised in our house, whether we've made the necessary changes or not. The reality we're choosing, actively or passively, is their reality, their normal. Just like we grew up believing we had to act the roles painted on the walls of our childhood, they will grow up thinking that what we accept, what we have tolerated, and what we have modeled is the way life is. That's why choosing differently isn't just for us. Every time we repaint a wall, every time we step out of victimhood from the idea that life is happening to me and into agency, the idea that I decide what my life looks like, we're giving them a new normal. But we are also teaching them that nothing is set in stone. We're raising them in freedom instead of limitations. Victimhood says life happens to me. while agency says life reflects what I align with, what I tolerate, what I accept. Your life in 3D, in the physical, is always reflecting what you have already accepted. And the moment we make the decision and say, I'm done accepting this reality, is the moment that things begin to change. Because the decision to move out of victimhood and into agency is the prerequisite to embodying a new reality. Here's the difference between growth and healing. Growth happens in community over time. We need other people to mirror to us, to be mirrors for us, to show us the things about ourselves that we can't always see. That happens in friction, in conflict. And ignoring that friction robs us and our lineage, our kids, of the opportunity to evolve. But healing happens in solitude. When you step out of victimhood and take a look at what was exposed to you in that mirror and ask, what part did I play here? What needs to change in me? For me, this came into focus during a tumultuous relationship I had around COVID. So many things happened that I didn't deserve. But it wasn't until I dropped the idea of myself as the victim that I could start to heal. Heal from what had been done to me and heal from the wounds that had caused me to enter into that situation in the first place. I had to come to the place where I could accept the fact that I aligned myself with that relationship, with those situations. I had allowed it to come into my life. And until I owned that, I couldn't shift out of it. Now you might be thinking, oh, come on, Ericka, isn't that victim shaming? And to that I say to you that shame and guilt is just the next rung on the ladder towards healing. Hopefully, we're all conscious enough to recognize that sometimes we are the problem. It's inevitable that we mess up at some point. We hurt someone. We fail at times, regardless of our intention. But even then, accountability isn't meant to chain us to guilt and shame. It's merely the opportunity to meet our own shortcomings, deal with those, and forgive ourselves. And between you and me, this exact situation is such a powerful opportunity to learn mercy and grace. Why did Nelson Mandela succeed in bringing forth change without revenge, while Haiti is still, after 220 years of independence, continuing to burn, pillage, and destroy? Because mercy and grace is the only way to move forward. No amount of burning down and exacting revenge will ever amount to a healed heart, to a healed conscience, to a healed nation. It will only perpetuate the same old cycles. But let me leave that alone. Women shouldn't speak about politics, right? So while blaming keeps us frozen and in loops, accountability moves us forward. And when we display accountability for our own mistakes, in the manure of our own decisions grows a little flower, the flower of grace and mercy, the very thing that kills shame and guilt. And I'll go one step further to say that once we learn to extend grace and mercy to ourselves, then we can extend grace and mercy to others. Once we've learned to forgive ourselves, we can start to forgive others. We can say, I was wrong there. I see it now. I choose differently next time. That's growth. And when we say that and mean it, then we can start to accept and believe that when others say it, they mean it too. So here's where I leave you. Healing is never about blaming ourselves for being hurt. It's about reaching the point in which we can extend grace and mercy to ourselves and others for the mistakes that were made. All the while repainting the walls, reorganizing and reframing that house, the confines of our mentalities, to avoid the same situation from happening in the future. By reclaiming our power, taking accountability, by asking, what am I accepting and what am I no longer willing to accept? Because the truth is, your life will always mirror back what you tolerate. And the moment you decide differently, your reality begins to shift. And the house your children grow up in begins to change too. Don't forget, you are the foundation. You are the chain breaker. You are the beginning of a legacy.